everyone and welcome back to Cute Crochet. My name is Sri and in today's video I am going to show you how to make a rainbow amigurumi. Now you can either make it small like this and make it into a keychain, or you can make it larger and make it into a toy, or you can make a massive one as a cushion for your couch. Scaling this project up and down is pretty simple once you get the hang of the first few rounds, simply by increasing the number of rounds per color. To make this, you are obviously going to need all the colors of the rainbow, plus some dark pink for the cheeks and some black for the eyes and the mouth. You will also need a crochet hook, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors and some stuffing to stuff your amigurumi with. If you want to use beads for the eyes, you will need those too. These are flat back pearls that have painted black. If you want to turn it into a keychain, you will need one of these blank key rings. You can buy them online or you can use one from a broken keychain. So let's get started. We are going to start with the first color of the rainbow, which is violet. With my 4-ply yarn, I am using a 3mm crochet hook. Start by making a slip knot. Now normally we would like to leave as little tail as possible, but here we need to leave a length of around 10 inches and then make the slip knot. This is the tail that we are going to use to sew up the amigurumi in the end. Then chain 12. After making the 12 chains, we are going to slip stitch into the first chain to join. This will create a ring that we are then going to work into. Normally we would work over this tail to weave it in, but make sure to leave it out of the way for this one. Chain 1 to start. This does not count as a stitch. Then we are going to make 18 single crochets into this ring. To make a single crochet, insert your hook into the ring and pull up a loop. You will have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2, and that finishes 1 single crochet. Continue to make 17 more single crochets in the same way. Here I have finished making the 18 single crochets. I am at the end of round 1. Now I am going to slip stitch on top of that first single crochet to join. Now whether you continue with the same color or change colors will depend on how large you want to make your rainbow. Since I am making this one teeny tiny, I am going to change colors after every round, but you can make a few rounds of each color. To change colors, simply grab the next color of the rainbow, which is indigo in my case, and then pull it through the loop on your hook. That will create a chain with the previous color. Then go ahead and drop your violet yarn, pick up your indigo yarn and start working with it like normal. These rounds will take very little yarn. As you can see, this is just a small scrap that I have remaining. For round 2, we have already chained 1 to start. Then we are going to place 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches of the previous round. We are going to work over these tails as we go along to weave them in. Into the third stitch, we are going to increase by placing 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Again, place 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Then increase into the next stitch. We are going to continue this sequence of 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches and then increase into the third stitch all the way around. Now the yarn of the previous color has been sufficiently woven in, so I am going to go ahead and trim it up. Make sure not to accidentally cut off that tail that we left at the beginning for sewing in the end. Now continue making round 2 following the same sequence. Here we are basically increasing in a flat circle, but instead of starting with round 1 of the flat circle, we have started with round 3. This will be easier for you to understand if you already know a little bit about flat circles, but even if you don't, it's not an issue at all. In an ordinary flat circle, we usually have 6 single crochets in the first round, and then 12 single crochets in the second round, and then 18 single crochets in the third round, like we have for our first round here. We are going to increase as we go outwards. For every round, we are going to increase 6 times and our stitch count is going to go up by 6, and we are going to leave equal number of stitches in between 2 increases. If all this is a little bit too confusing for you, just forget about it and follow what I am doing here. You will get the hang of it soon enough. Here I am at the last 3 stitches of round 2. I am going to make 1 single crochet into the third last stitch, 1 single crochet into the second last stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the last stitch. It might look like there is one more stitch remaining, but that is not a real stitch. That is just a fake stitch that was created due to the slip stitch earlier. We are going to completely ignore that and directly make a slip stitch into the first single crochet. That brings us to the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you will have 24 single crochet stitches. For round 3, bring in the next color of the rainbow, which is blue in my case, and change colors like I have shown previously. Now I am going to do something that is a little bit different and interesting. If you know how these increases normally go, you would know that since in the previous round we had 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches, in this round we will have 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches and then 1 increase. But if we continue to do like this, we will get a pronounced hexagonal shape with corners where the increases are. This is not desirable when we are making something rounded like a rainbow. One trick to avoid this issue is to stagger our increased stitches. For this round, we are going to start with an increased stitch instead of the single crochets. Into that first stitch, directly place 2 single crochets. Then place 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. Do not forget to work over the tails. After you have made a few stitches, you can go ahead and snip the previous color. Then again into the next stitch, make 1 increased stitch. Again, make 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches and then continue to repeat this sequence all the way around. Here I am almost at the end of round 3. In the fourth last stitch, I am going to make 1 increased stitch and then 1 single crochet into the last 3 stitches. Then slip stitch into the first single crochet to join. At the end of round 3, you will have 30 single crochet stitches. For round 4, change to the next color, which is green in this case. Since in the previous round we had started with the increased stitch, for this round we are going to start with single crochets. We are going to alternate between single crochets and increases for the first stitch of every round. In this pattern, the number of the single crochets coincide with the number of the rounds. So for round 4, we are going to have 1 single crochet into the first 4 single crochets. Again, don't forget to work over the tails. Since this is an amigurumi, we are going to sew it up anyways and the tails will not be visible. But even then, it is always a good practice to weave in your ends so that your stitches are more secure. After making one single crochet into the first 4 stitches, we are then going to make one increase stitch into the 5th stitch. We can go ahead and snip the previous color now, and then we are going to continue this sequence of one single crochet into the next 4 stitches and then one increase stitch all the way around. At the end of round 4, you are going to be making 2 single crochets into the last stitch. Then slip stitch on top of the first single crochet to join. At the end of round 4, you will have 36 single crochet stitches. For round 5, bring in your next color, which is yellow in this case. Since round 4 had started with single crochets, for round 5 we are again going to start with an increase stitch. Then, corresponding to the round number, make one single crochet into the next 5 stitches. Continue repeating this sequence of one increase stitch and then 5 single crochets all the way around. Here I am at the end of round 5. I am going to make a slip stitch into the first single crochet to join. My yellow yarn was barely enough. At the end of round 5, we have 42 single crochet stitches. For round 6, bring in the next color, which is orange. This round is going to start with single crochets. Make one single crochet into the first 6 single crochet stitches. Then increase into the 7th stitch and then continue to repeat this sequence of one single crochet into the next 6 stitches and then increase stitch all the way around. At the end of round 6, make 2 single crochets into the last stitch of the round. Then slip stitch into the first single crochet to join, and that brings you to the end of round 6. At the end of round 6, you will have 48 single crochet stitches. For round 7, bring in the last color of the rainbow, which is pink. Well, I know that red is the last color of the rainbow, but here I am using lighter versions of all of the colors, and pink is just a lighter version of red. Round 7 is again going to start with an increase stitch. Then one single crochet into the next 7 single crochets. Continue to repeat this sequence of increased stitch and then 1 single crochet into the next 7 single crochets all the way around. Here I am at the end of round 7, slip stitch on top of that first single crochet to join. At the end of round 7, we have 54 single crochet stitches. Next, we are going to fold the entire piece in half and then slip stitch along the outer edge of the semicircle. To make a slip stitch, first insert your hook into the first stitch. Then insert your hook into the last stitch and then yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook, and that finishes one slip stitch. Again, insert your hook into the next stitch and then the stitch directly opposite to it. Yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook. Continue to make slip stitches like this into each stitch all the way around the edge of the semicircle. After you slip stitched up to the end, chain 1 and fasten off. Through that center hole, bring that yarn tail to the inside. Next, it's time to stuff the amigurumi. Be generous with your stuffing and make sure to keep that tail out of the way. First, I am going to fill the corners of the amigurumi and I am going to use my scissors to push that stuffing up to the corners, and then I am going to fill the middle. Using a yarn needle, I am going to sew up the opening, and here is where that tail will come in handy. I am going to pick up one loop from either side of the opening very carefully so that the stitching looks nice and neat. After you finish sewing the entire opening, make a knot at the end to secure it in place and then bring the yarn tail in through the amigurumi and back out. Snip away the excess yarn. Next, it's time for the face. This is of course optional, but let's face it, a face makes an amigurumi 10 times cuter. For the eyes, I am going to use these flat back pearls that I have painted black, and I am going to stick them on using some fabric glue. Since this is going to be a keychain for myself, this is not an issue, but if you are making this for a child, sticking the eyes on with glue is a terrible idea and it is a choking hazard, and you should never do that. Instead, you should use safety eyes, and if those are not available to you, you can always embroider on the face. I will show you that option as well. Next, I am going to embroider on the mouth using some black yarn. Come in through the back of the amigurumi and then out through in between the eyes. Do not pull the yarn all the way through. Make a stitch straight across and then tuck it down in the middle to form a smile. Then bring the yarn back out through the same hole that we came in through. And then we are going to make a knot using those two tails. Cut off the excess yarn and then push the knot into the body using the back of your needle. We are also going to embroider on some rosy cheeks in a similar way. And finally, hook on your keyring and you're all done. As promised, here's a version where I have embroidered on the face. Using embroidery, you can do a lot of different expressions such as smiley, happy, sleepy, angry, anything you want. I hope you guys like this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!